Hi, I'm Warren.
And I'm Adam, and we work for the Sanguine Writing House, which is the UK's leading provider of online and in person team building, training, and mental health support.
Okay, and this is the next episode of our podcast, Minefield. And today we're joined on this show by Ste Walker, who sets up a group called Solo Parents. So, hi, Steve. If you just want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hey guys, I'm Ste Walker. I'm 42 years old, solo parent to a 10-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. Live in Darwin, and I work for Lancashire County Council.
Okay.
So you mentioned this, Steve, that you're a solo parent. So if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about how that came about and then how you went on to set up the support group that you run as well in its first format.
Yeah, sure. So it was about 7 years ago now. My son was 3 at the time, and unfortunately, my marriage broke down. And I was left with my son, who's 3 at the time, and my daughter, who was about 6.5. And I've raised them full time for quite a long stint, really. But they do have contact with the mum every other weekend, and kids love the mum to bits, and we're amicable. And unfortunately, the relationship just didn't work out. So then the journey was adjusting to that, almost like shell shock of the event. And obviously, I went through a period of depression at the beginning and questioning everything that gone on and whether I could have done anything else to make it work. And then to basically self-help myself, I went into running. I ran a half marathon and then progressed to a full marathon. And that seemed to get me to a place where then I thought, okay, I'm feeling a bit better now. This was like 2 years on, and I decided to set up a group with a long-standing school friend. And from there, we set up a Facebook group called Single Parents United. And the basic vision of that group was to prevent social isolation and help families and their children make new friends and be able to access a community without the fear of going out on their own or whatever anxieties they were facing. And that's a general crux of it.
I suppose because I've got a 2-year-old, and sometimes you do feel like you are socially isolated a little bit. But obviously, I'm lucky in the fact that if I can go out, my partner will stay home and look after our daughter. At the same time, I'm more than happy to stay home and she can go out. But I know if you're on your own, you just don't have that, do you? You just got no access to that social kind of element of, apart from other little like toddler groups maybe or something. But so what does your group? What do you do within your group?
So obviously we're online. We've got a big online community, and basically we can all communicate as we're doing now. We do Zooms, we do quizzes. We tend to put topics on each week, like solo parent themed topics. So, for example, forgiving your ex-partner, that could be a theme. Who's ready to forgive? Who's not? What are the positives and negatives? It could be about dads who are being restricted contact, or even mums who are being restricted contact, depending on which side of the coin it is. To then progress into regular weekly meetups. That's during the week or at the weekend. So we'll be doing walks. We've just come from a camping trip. We've done 2 nights camping. That was really successful. we've been to Blackpool Beach, St Anne's, Manchester for the day. You name it, we'll do it. But basically, I'll just put an event on saying we're going to St Anne's Beach, 12 o'clock. Anyone who wants to join, come. And then we might get a message saying, well, actually, I haven't got my kids. Well, to combat that, I've made it inclusive so that we say, look, if you haven't got your kids, you can still come. And that's worked because a lot of people without their kids have then come and they've either helped out or them people have just mingled together and chatted.
It's that social connection, isn't it? That's important. How many people did you have in that first kind of setup?
Well, the first group, the Single Parents United, had 1,200. The error that I made at the time is me and my mate, it got too big before we even got going. And we made it UK wide when really we should have done what I'm doing now, which was made it northwest. Because obviously having it UK wide, we're going to have people that haven't got as many parents in their areas to connect to. So that's when I went back to the drawing board.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you went back, what was the next step or stage on that then?
So because we were called Single Parents United, this was another problem. We were attracting a lot of people who thought this is a dating site, which it wasn't. So the problem was at this point, I then became unwell mentally. So it's whether you want me to talk about that now or where you want me to go from there.
Yeah, you can do. I mean, it's part of your journey and part of your story, isn't it? So, I mean, you've mentioned and alluded to that you had your first kind of initial idea and concept and your first group. And then I think, as we discussed yesterday, that you encountered some problems and became ill. So, I mean, if you could tell us a little bit about that.
So leading up to we're Single Parents United. We've got 1,200 members, but we're across the UK. But predominantly, we had a lot of people in Lancashire, and then we hit COVID, and we went and did everything online. We were doing mental health weeks. We were doing Disney weeks, quizzes, all sorts online to keep everyone ticking over. And then I got an ear infection in my left ear, and then remarkably, I got another one in the right ear. And obviously, I was supposed to be working, but I couldn't hear, and I was in pain. So I had to then, because I do wear hearing aids. For those of you who don't know, I am naturally deaf. But then I had to, from that, go and see the doctor for some treatment. So gave me antibiotics, didn't work. So gave me a different antibiotic, didn't work. And then obviously they referred me for a... Hello?
Yeah, you're still here.
Oh, sorry. I just got interrupted then. And then where was it? Yeah, so I had to be seen, and they said, "Oh no, you need surgery, but you can't have surgery for at least 12 months because of COVID." So I was basically told, "Well, I'm gonna have to live with this for a while." But the problem was, as you'll know, those of you out there who've had an ear infection, it really affects your sleep. I was just popping painkillers, and so I weren't sleeping, and this went on for a good 6 months. So I'm a guy that's gone from full-time work to no longer working, to having the kids at home because of the lockdown crisis, so they're not in school all the time, and then progressively deteriorated mentally to the point where it just became unbearable. So I was so depressed, and this was nothing to do with my separation years back, because I've overcome all that. And I went to the doctors and I went, "Look, I can't live like this anymore." So he gave me an antidepressant, which, obviously was a sound idea at the time, because there was nothing else working. I couldn't exercise because I was run down. Exercise would have been the go back to running, but because I've got stuff coming out my ears, I couldn't do that. So he gave me an antidepressant, and within 2 weeks, my whole personality changed. I started developing anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I had this voice in my head all the time, day and night, and because I weren't sleeping, I had it all night. So going to bed was the scariest part of my day, because you just lie there, obviously with no distraction. And this voice basically was saying to me that I wasn't good enough. My kids didn't like me. My work didn't like me. My group hated me. Because I did have a few problems with the group at the time, because with everything with COVID, we got a bit criticised as a group, and I personally came under attack for a few things, and then so all this then really hit me. But the minute I went on these tablets, these panic attacks and anxiety attacks led to this voice constantly saying to me, "You need to go and kill yourself." And it weren't just like once, twice a day; it was constant. So, for example, I had, "You need to go to Preston Docks. Jump in now, and it'll all be over. You won't have to suffer anymore." And I got, "You need to drive on the motorway and crash any way you can." That came up regularly. Or take an overdose. And at the time, I had my mum coming round to help with the kids. They had no idea what were going on in my head. And I was, what's the word? I was just somebody else in the room. I was just like a ghost. Everything was going on around me. The kids knew I weren't happy, but they just thought it was down to the ear infections. And then I cried out for help. I rung A&E, and they got me to go to some kind of respite place for 5 days, where basically they like a couple of hours intervention with you, but it's all about you working on yourself. But that didn't help me whatsoever, because the problem was, which I didn't know at the time, was the drug I was on. And my mum obviously noticed it more than anyone, because she could see the change in me. And obviously, the more I was on it, the worse things went. And then that didn't work after the cry out for help with A&E. Not saying anyone did anything wrong.
No.
And then I came home, and within about 3 days, I had a really bad night, and I woke up and I said to my mum, "I can't go through another night like that ever again." And the following evening, it was about 6 o'clock in the evening. The kids weren't there, fortunately, but my mum was in the room on the phone, and I just took a massive overdose of over 100 pills of different combination of antidepressants and paracetamol. And then I woke up in Royal Blackburn Hospital. I didn't know what had happened, to be honest. The event itself, it doesn't really, I don't remember it very well, but my mum was able to tell me everything that happened. And then the mental health consultant assessed me, the top bloke, I can't remember his name, but they got this top guy to do an assessment, because they couldn't understand my history was always clean. Never had a mental health concern ever, other than depression, which a lot of people can experience small bouts of it.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, it's this drug you're on. I'm going to get you off it." And he weaned me off it. I had to stay in there for 3 weeks. But because I was that worried about going home, I asked voluntarily to go on the mental health ward, so they could do more tests and assess, which he agreed to. So I went on voluntarily, and oh my God, it was the scariest place. I'd never want to go back. Never go back on a ward like that ever again. I lasted 24 hours. I begged them to let me go, but obviously I had to stay for the time of my assessment. So they managed to let me go after 2 nights. But I would never go. I'm not saying everywhere is like that, but this particular place was just not good for me whatsoever because of the people that I was surrounded by.
Yeah.
It's one of those, and it's so scary, but so many people need help, and all this was just down to being prescribed the wrong drug for you.
According to the consultant, I mean, to me it makes sense, because if there was ever a time I would have self-harmed, it was when my wife left, because I felt I didn't want to live anymore, as everything was against me. It wasn't just her; there was all sorts going on in the background in my personal life, and I can't go into too much detail, but
No.
I was under a lot of stress from um, outside people, basically, who could have basically finished me off. But basically, that was a time that I would have, But because I weren't on any medication, I just said to myself, "There's no way I can leave Harry and Lily. They need me now more than ever." And but when I was on these pills, I didn't think for 1 minute about my son and daughter. Not 1 minute.
It's frightening, isn't it? And I think, we mentioned yesterday when we were chatting about, if you look at the kind of leaflet that comes with medication, one of the side effects with a lot of antidepressants, antipsychotic drugs is suicidal thoughts. And how many people read that white leaflet? How many people are aware that medication could cause them to feel suicidal? I mean, like in your case, I mean, we're very thankful that you came through the other side, and you're in a really good place. But how many people that have been prescribed the wrong medication or have been unaware of the effects have not managed to come through the other side, and I think that's quite scary in terms of doctors prescribing medication and not fully knowing the impact that it can have on people.
I think there's another thing though, isn't there? That obviously, for some people, it isn't the wrong medication.
Yeah, I mean, we're not experts, but yeah,
we're not experts, and obviously, everybody's got different synopsises, and you'll take to a medication in a different way to other people. So we'd never advocate don't take medication.
No.
But I think you just need to. With things like this, there probably needs to be a little bit more contact with the doctor, more check-ins with somebody. Day 1, day 3, day 5, because as the more medication you're taking, the more that those signals are getting through. So I think there should be maybe a bit more monitoring at that in the early stages to make sure it is the right one for you. And if you start seeing any of those signs, wean you off, put you onto something else, I think. But like Adam said, it's great that obviously that you came through on that, and then somebody's commented saying that they know the voice all too well. COVID did so much damage to their own mental health, and it's taking longer to get back to that balance. The fact that you're doing well now shows what a superstar you are. And I have to agree with that. The fact that you've come out of that, and then you've now rebuilt your group as well, and you've continued to do the great work that you were doing at that point, before this happened. How has your experience of what you went through there then impacted on the group now?
I just wanted to just summarize something. With the medication, and one thing I got told was it's about trying a different one, so you've hit the right one. Now, and I do know people that have hit the right one and they're sorted now. Their life's going great, and that's why there's an argument for and against it. But what I would say is, if you've got children and you've got real responsibilities in your life, is it worth the flipping risk? You know what I mean? Is there an alternative? It all depends on that person's mental illness. But the big point I did want to hit home was any families out there, because my mum and my dad and my family could not believe that I would ever get to this point. You know what I mean? They couldn't understand it. But if I had died, I wouldn't have been able to explain this to them. So what I would like to get out there is anyone who's lost somebody to suicide, who may not know whether they were on a medication or not. If they were on a medication, I'm pretty damn sure that that could have been one of the factors that led to their, self-harming, because there's no way I would have ever done this unless I was on that drug. I know that for a fact,
Yeah, I mean,
so go back to your question. Your question was, how have I changed with the group? We're a lot more mental health focused than we ever were. So we do a well-being check every Monday, where we put hearts on of how we feel. So a red heart is really good, orange heart pretty good, and then obviously you can imagine as we're going down, it's okay, or I need to reach out. And on that post is all the links to where to signpost someone, because obviously we're not counsellors. We're not going to try and start talking to them. What we do is befriend them, and we say we'll be friends with them and we'll listen to them and talk to them. But ultimately, they need to get some help.
That's really good because you're signposting people, and it's a safe place where people know that they can put their hand up and say, "Yeah, I need that help," and it's amazing that people feel within your group, that they feel safe, they feel respected, and they feel like they're supported, and so your name's changed slightly now, isn't it? Because it used to be, it was Single Parents UK.
Yeah.
United.
So now we're called, basically we've still got that group, Single Parents United Northwest, Single Parents United UK, but it's called Solo. So we've still got that group. But I just thought, you know what, brand new start, brand new me. So I created Solo Parents United Northwest, just for the Northwest, and we've got 650 members since about February. We've got going. Now we're now in July, aren't we? So that's pretty decent numbers.
Amazing
already. Yeah. But a lot of it is with the solo parent journey is about whatever's happened to them and how if they can find somebody in the group that also been through it. So domestic violence is a common theme. If they link up with someone who's been through that, then they've got a friend for life to help talk it through. And what we do is we use a lot of our experienced members now and help sort of make them like mentors or admins or befrienders. And we basically say, oh, Johnny's just joined group. Do you want to get to know him a bit and just make sure he's all right, and maybe join him on an event because he's not feeling confident. So we try and do that through the group, and then the women do all this donkey work. To be honest with you, they're really good. The female members, because you can imagine from a male perspective, it is hard to support somebody who's basically been, treated badly by a male. So they often need a female companion.
I suppose it'll go the flip side as well, because a male coming to the group might find, because men find it hard to talk anyway, but for them to open up to another bloke might be quite difficult. But if you've got several people kind of trying to befriend you, I think a lot of it is just about creating a big friendship kind of circle and looking out for each other and letting know that you're all there for each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Interestingly though, guys, I mean, I really like your show. Big compliment to you, because I have tried so hard to promote dads joining the group. I don't know what it is, but we're talking like 15% of our group are male and the rest are women. I've approached all the dads groups. I've put it on all the Facebook notice boards. I've been to dads groups and told them about us, and it is that thing that men don't want to talk and share.
It is seen as, stupidly, it's seen as a weakness. And It really isn't. It's one of the things that people really need to get out there and talk. In a future show, we've got a gentleman who's got a group called Talk Yourself Well, and that is, what he does with men.
Simon. I know
That's it,
Simon.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what he does with his group is again, it's amazing. He
It
gets
is,
all these
yeah.
men to open up, and it is, it's sad that we need the guys to open up and get involved. Everybody needs support. I think we need to stop thinking of it as male and female. It's just people need support.
Yeah.
I think is,
Yeah, definitely.
and as somebody says here, the support system is needed more than ever now. And what you're doing with these parents is incredible. So yeah, keep up the good work. And we wholeheartedly agree with that. I think it's 650 odd members. I think is astounding in the Northwest, and that's only going to grow. I think if you just keep on doing what you're doing, I say just that friendship will help these people out so much. And obviously, we'll post up, the links to your site and that. So if anybody wants to get involved,
Yeah. You can run all the events, guys. I'll just have a rest for a bit.
That's it. I think there'll be some collaborations coming up in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. But
yeah,
Steve, thanks for telling your story. It's not always easy sharing when we've been in a dark place, but I'm really, really pleased that you're in a good place now, and that you're doing so well. And thank you for sharing. And yeah, we just want to wish you best of luck with the group and what you do in the future. But thank you for coming on and sharing that with us.
No, thanks for having me, guys. What you're doing is amazing work as well. So
thank you.
And that's one thing. Just before we're tying up is the thing I find nowadays is no one wants to work together. They all want their own baby, as they call it.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of that term. It's my baby. We call our group, not my group. It's a united group of people. I just literally, advertised it for people to join. It's not owned by me. It's just a Facebook group, and the people make it a group. But there's so many people that won't work together, and if we all work together, just think how many problems we'd solve.
This is what we're trying to do. So we invite people onto the podcast. Tell us what you're doing. We'll support it. And we want to give people as much information as possible. There's lots of people out there who can help us. There's lots of people out there who can help you, and that's what we want to do. This isn't meant to be a selfish kind of thing. It's not ours. Like I say, it's for everybody. And in the overall scheme of things, everybody's mental health is important, and whatever helps that individual helps that individual. So what we do might not, but something you do will. And horses for courses. But yeah, as Adam said.
Have we lost Warren?
We are.
Yeah.
And we have Patrick Doyle, who's a consultant psychotherapist. We're going to be discussing The World According to You, which is an exploration of the nature of reality and our mental health. So that's going to be interesting. Really looking forward to that, because obviously Patrick's brilliant. And you've been brilliant as well, Steve. So again, thank you so much for that. It's been amazing.
Thanks.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye-bye.
The Mindfield podcast has been presented by the Sanguine Writing House, the UK's leading provider of online mystery and strategy games, along with team training, mental health awareness, and mental health first aid courses. To find out more and to book your course or game, please visit tswh.co.uk.